Alright guys, I'm back with another video. Today we're talking about Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, UFC 309 in Madison Square Garden. This is going to be a good one. I'm really excited for this. We got Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler for the co-main event, and we got Bo Nickel and Paul Craig in one of them. Some other good fights on this card, but those are the real notable ones. It's a pretty good card. We've been waiting for this fight for a long time. Well, only about a year, actually, I should say. Not a super long time, but because Jon Jones tore his pec, so we've actually technically been waiting on the fight for a little bit. There's other fights that could be made, obviously. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Yeah, regardless, we're getting to see Jon Jones fight again, so we're going to break that down. I'm not really going to talk about Bo Nickel and Paul Craig that much because I think we know what's going to happen there. Bo's gonna win that. Let's be honest. He's a heavy favorite. He's like he's like negative 1,000 or whatever for betting odds. I'm not just saying that's why he's gonna win, but I mean, we'll see. Paul Craig's great at jiu-jitsu, but I think Bo's gonna get it done. Stay undefeated. Let's go to Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira, though, the co-main event, which we've been wanting to see for a while. Michael Chandler is finally back after Conor McGregor wasted 2 years of his career. Conor McGregor is probably never going to step in the octagon again, and definitely probably not against Michael Chandler. So, well, actually, if he does, that's probably who it's going to be. I take that back. If he's going to fight anybody, it'll be Michael Chandler. That's his best bet. But it's just funny that he wasted 2 years of his career. We thought we had him. We thought Michael Chandler was fighting last year. Or no, this year. Yeah, it was this year. What am I thinking? And then Conor broke his pinky toe. So, ironically, Alex Pereira filled in with him with 2 broken toes. So, enough about Conor and Chandler, though. Let's talk about what we're actually here for. So, Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler have obviously fought before. Oliveira won that. I don't know how much different it's going to be this way around. I gotta say, Michael Chandler looks really good and in shape. Charles Oliveira is coming off a loss against Arman Tsarukyan. Like I said, Michael Chandler is looking in great shape. He's kind of been in training camp for 2 years, training for Conor McGregor, waiting for the time. Especially this last year, he was literally in training camp for probably 8 weeks or something like that, maybe longer. And then Conor pulled out, so he has been in training camp recently. He's in insanely good shape. He's just a disciplined guy. He stays in good shape all the time, though. So I think Chandler's going to be in really good shape, cardio-wise, mentally. I think Oliveira's going to be the same. Chandler's a wrestler. Oliveira's jiu-jitsu, but everybody knows Oliveira's great stand-up. Chandler has good stand-up. It's a great clash of styles. I'm not mad about this event at all, and I'm not mad that we're seeing it again in a second one. Do I think it needed to be made? No, not really, but I'm glad it's happening. At least we get to see Michael Chandler fight and Charles Oliveira again. I think that I'm going to say this one I'm not taking as much time in just because I'm here for Jones and Stipe, so I'm just going to kind of skim over this one. I'm going to say Charles wins. I don't remember if it's a 3 or 5 round fight. I'm not sure. I could see Michael Chandler going the distance and, toughen it out, but I could also see Charles Oliveira doing the same thing, and I could also see Charles Oliveira finishing it. He has the most finishes in UFC history, I believe, so if it goes to the distance, it's probably going to be a Michael Chandler. If it doesn't go the distance, Charles Oliveira's got that, so it favors him way more. All right, it's time to get into the main event. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. First things first, Stipe hasn't fought in 4 years. Do I think this fight needed to be made? No. Am I mad? Not really, honestly. Contrary to what most people say. I'm just glad to see Jon Jones fighting again. I'm curious to see what Stipe looks like. I know he's been being a firefighter like he always is. He's been in training camp for a long time. Jon Jones looks good. Like I said, this fight was supposed to happen like a year ago, but he tore his pec, so I know Stipe has been active for at least that long training. His last fight I believe it was against Francis Ngannou in 2020. He hasn't fought in 4 years, and he basically got brought out of retirement for John Jones to do this fight just because he called him out. So, like I said, I'm glad John Jones is fighting again, but I don't know if this is the best choice. I think John should have fought Tom Aspinall. We'll get into that in a minute. Who do I think is going to win? Personally, I think just like the odds say, I'm going with a favorite here again. I think John Jones is going to win. He's had Gordon Ryan, training him for this last camp, and I think that's a sign of what he's going to plan on doing. Everybody knows Stipe is a boxer. John Jones is a very balanced fighter. So John has insane stand-up. He's also looking really good. He says it feels like a light heavyweight fight. He's way lighter. His physique looks better. He had a way better weight cut than he did against Suragan. And speaking of Suragan, that's another thing that happened. His last fight we saw, he won by rear naked in the first round. He looked great, but it was also on the ground. So John Jones might have liked that, and he's going to continue to go that route. And as he should, Stipe is a great stand-up fighter. Now, I don't know how he's going to look 4 years later, but still John's advantage here is the ground, and he's been training with Gordon Ryan, the greatest jiu-jitsu athlete of all time. So it makes sense of where he's probably going to go with this fight. I have John winning this fight just basically because he's a more balanced fighter. I think he's more hungry for this fight. He wanted it. Stipe kind of got dragged out of retirement for this fight. I think John's probably just going to be John, and he's going to go in there and win it. And I do agree with him. On his resume, this will look good for his legacy, beating Stipe, arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. People may not realize that's 4 years later when they see that, when his last fight was. The people that watch the fight will remember that, but I do agree. It's going to look better to beat one of the legends, and that's what he says. He wants to keep fighting more legends like Pereira. It's going to look better on his resume. I was thinking that he's ducking Aspinall. I'm not saying he still isn't, but, he said something the other day in the interview, and I kind of agreed with him. And he admitted it. He's like, there's not that much I want to risk. He's like, I'm almost at the end of my career. I don't want to take some fight for Tom Aspinall. He's not a big enough name. And I don't want to risk my legacy losing to him. He said, I just don't want to put my legacy on the line for beating somebody that's not that big of a draw. And he's right. No matter if Stipe hasn't fought in 4 years or not, he's probably going to be a bigger draw than Aspinall. He'd rather fight Pereira, he said, than Aspinall because it's a way bigger draw. I agree. That would be a huge fight to make right now, and I'd love to see that. Everybody'd love to see that. But do I think he should still fight Tom? Absolutely. This is being filmed after the press conference, and Dana just said whoever wins this fight has to fight Tom Aspinall. So I have a feeling John Jones, this is probably his last fight, unless Dana gives him a privilege and wants to go for the money fight for Alex and John, because that's a huge thing. But John just needs to he just needs to fight Tom if he wants to keep fighting. He can't just retire and then come back and then fight Alex or something just to get out of the fight. That's major duck. He just needs to fight Tom if he wants to keep fighting, then fight Alex. I think that's his best route. Personally, I think we'll see what happens Saturday night, but I think John would still beat Tom Aspinall just by that much. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we'll see Saturday night if he would actually, we'll see how he looks. But I agree. It's a lot to risk for his legacy, for, seeing on his resume Tom Aspinall. Who's that? We'll see if Tom Aspinall becomes a bigger name in the sport, but as of right now, he's not. So I kind of get what John Jones is saying is, don't want to risk my legacy. Do I think he should still fight him? Absolutely. I think the best path for his career would be fight Aspinall next and then end it with Pereira with a mega fight, and that would be it. That's the way to do it. But yeah, guys, that's my prediction for UFC 309 in Madison Square Garden. I'm excited for this card. Like I always say, it's a good card. Like I always say, usually they are. 310, we had Bilal pull out. I think Shavkat and Usman is being rumored to be the new fight. I think Usman may be filling in, which would be cool. So we'll see what happens. But that's about it for me, guys. I'm doing a breakdown on the Paul Tyson fight and this fight afterwards. How I usually do one before and then after. So I'll be doing that. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.